Hey guys, hope you are all doing well today, and boy do I have a fun battle for y'all. So we have the forces of Norsca being led by me, going up against the warriors of chaos being led by, I believe his name is Raze. We'll check him out in the end screen. Let's quickly turn off debug camera as we get into this battle. So, for the forces of Norsca, we have a front line of standard marauders on either flank, 2 units of marauders with great weapons to bring some additional armor piercing against what is normally a pretty heavily armored chaos infantry, and we do have 2 marauder berserkers as well, just for some additional anti-infantry tools. And then we have 2 feral mammoths, some of the best anti-infantry monsters in this game. You can see this Norscan army is very equipped to deal with infantry spam that chaos could potentially bring, but what they might struggle up against are dragon ogres and dragon ogre shaggots, which my opponent has actually brought 2 of. We have a Fimir Balefiend of Shadows bringing Penumbral Pendulum, Enfeebling Foe, and Scroll of Shielding, and we of course have Throg, the Troll King. Vanguard deployed are 4 units of Marauder Horsemasters, 2 on either flank, and these guys are going to be really good in this matchup at slowly but surely wearing down those Dragon Ogres. They aren't shielded, they have 60 armor, which is a decent bit, but Marauder Horsemasters over the course of the battle can definitely deal quite a bit of damage. And really I'm relying on them to take down some of the most important threats that Chaos can field, such as Dragon Ogre Shaggots, Dragon Ogres, and potentially even counter-skirmish Marauder Horsemasters of the enemy. So yeah, that pretty much makes up the Norscan army, so let's move on to Chaos. For the front lines of Chaos, we have Chaos Warriors on either flank and the middle, and we do have 2 units of Chosen with Halberds, who should be able to hold their own against even Marauder Berserkers, and potentially even those Mammoths. They do have bonus versus large, so these Chosen with Halberds should be able to hold the line for a very long time. For the leadership, we do have Archaon, the ever-chosen, likely the best duelist in the entire game. He is just one tough lord to take down, and Throg definitely wants to avoid the great ever-chosen as much as he can. We also do have, as I mentioned, double Dragon Ogre, double Dragon Ogres, no double Dragon Ogre Shaggots, but they are definitely one of the best monstrous infantry in the game, if not the best. I believe I saw a video where every monstrous infantry unit was tested against each other, and in the end, Dragon Ogres did end up winning, I believe. These guys very good at taking down large units, such as any horse or any mounted units, those mammoths, even Throg himself, since he is considered a large unit. So Norskans definitely have to watch out for these guys. And in the forest, we do have 2 units of Marauder Horsemen who should try and counter skirmish those Marauder Horsemasters. Anyways, seems like both armies are introduced, so let's get into this battle as the Norskans will be approaching. Seems like the Dragon Ogre Shaggots are pushing forward to try and catch some of these Marauders and potentially even those Marauder Horsemasters off guard, and looks like they do get a very good charge into the infantry of Norsca, though Throg is right there to react and potentially lay some damage on these Dragon Ogres, and the Mammoths do push forward and should make decent quick work of these Chosen. We have a Pendulum coming in. See how much damage this is going to do. Wow, takes them down to about half HP. Definitely a very good Pendulum. And with that Feral Mammoth and the Fimir Balefiend, those Chosen with Halberds should not be long for this world. Now Throg is surrounded by these Dragon Ogres, but he should be able to beat them down relatively well, especially if he has Marauder Berserker support. We had a Burning Head, I forgot the name of that spell for a second, not sure why, going through some Marauders, routing them off the field. And now these Chosen with Halberds can try and push forward and screen out these Marauder Horsemasters. And on the left flank, things are not going so well for the Norskans, as Archaon along with some Dragon Ogres do manage to rout one of the Feral Mammoths, and look how much damage Archaon is doing. He has Foe Seeker, Slayer of Kings, Cascading Fire Cloak popped on him, and even though we tried to put a Scroll of Shielding on the Mammoth, he does rout from the battlefield, and Throg is going to be right there to escort him off. And these Chosen with Halberds have taken almost no damage, pretty surprising. They're probably going up against standard Marauders. Those really don't do much damage at all. And on the right flank, things are going a little better for the Norskins. Their infantry is still being beat down. Chaos just has such great armored infantry that can beat down pretty much every other faction's infantry in a one-on-one fight. So if there's one faction that can rely on infantry to win this fight, it will be Chaos, and that's why we tried to bring double Mammoth along with a lot of Marauder Berserkers and Marauders with great weapons to try and combat that. But unfortunately, we still have some very, very healthy Chaos infantry that still need dealing with. Throg charging into the lines of some Chosen with halberds, and he probably does not want to stay in that fight for too long. If he's surrounded by these elite Chaos infantry, he will be taking a lot of damage in a little bit of time. One good thing for the Norskins is the fact that we have managed to rout off one of the Dragon Ogres, so we had one Pendulum as well, going through some Chosen with halberds, but Chaos losing these Dragon Ogres is a pretty large loss. The second unit of Dragon Ogres is coming in and trying to catch this Feral Mammoth in the side. Unfortunately, some Marauder Horsemasters will be reacting and throwing some javelins into their faces. With the Marauder Horsemaster support, I believe the Feral Mammoth should be able to win that fight, even though the Dragon Ogres are anti-large and the Feral Mammoth is anti-infantry. With an Enfeebling Foe as well popped, it should be a pretty big win for the Norskins. As I said, Throg staying in that fight with Chosen with halberds for that little time has pretty much brought his HP down about a fourth. He's currently sitting at about half HP, which is definitely not where you want to be when you're going up against Archaon the Everchosen. A Burning Head going through a lot of the Norscan lines. That was actually a really good Burning Head. Manages to go through 3 units of Norscan infantry, but it seems like they still will be able to beat down the remainders of the Chaos Warriors and Chosen with halberds. Marauder Horsemasters line up to try and get some fire into Archaon, since there's really no other great targets left. Archaon is pretty much the last bastion of health for Chaos, and we'll see whether he is able to win this battle by himself. The balance of power is still pretty equal. Definitely losing one of the Mammoths hurt us quite a bit, but I think if we can get some Marauder Horsemaster fire along with Throg and Mammoth fighting Archaon the Everchosen, we should be able to beat him down. That being said, Archaon is doing so much damage to the Feral Mammoth that he does rampage into some of these Chaos Warriors, leaving Throg to fight Archaon by himself. And if Throg falls, things are not looking good for the Norscan forces, since you can never rely on infantry to take down the Great Everchosen. We do have the Feral Mammoth charging into him to try and knock him down a couple times, and Throg is also getting some decent hits into him, but Archaon is just a world beater of the Lord. He's going to be super tough for the remainder of the Norscan forces to take down, and he can easily solo this Feral Mammoth and Throg by himself one-on-one. And looks like the Feral Mammoth has routed from the field, or is going to be routing from the field, and his HP is low enough that he probably won't be returning. Now Throg attempting to get away from Archaon, but of course on horseback he is much faster, and Throg is forced to turn around and try and fight. I do charge some Marauder Horsemasters to try and distract Archaon from killing the Troll King, but unfortunately Archaon is just making quick work of the Norscan leadership. Even though Fight or Die is popped, Throg is routing from the field now, and now he gets completely obliterated from behind and falls to the ground as the Norscan leadership is killed. And at this point, there's only Marauder Horsemasters left to try and win the battle, and there are still a decent bit of Chaos infantry left. Marauder Horsemasters can probably cycle charge them to death, but Archaon is going to be a very tough dude to kill. Horsemasters are running pretty low on ammunition. These 2 units are pretty much at the point of no ammo, and the 2 weaker Marauder Horsemasters still have a little bit left in them. Archaon does get surrounded by a couple of these Horsemasters, and I'm just hoping for any sort of damage on Archaon that could potentially lower his leadership, but unfortunately his melee stats are through the roof, 78 and 84. He's going to be super tough for just Horsemasters to take down. Of course, they have to keep avoiding these halberds and chaos warriors, since if they get caught up in the infantry, they will be taking a lot of damage. So it's just pretty much cycle charging Archaon to death. We're still fulfilling the attacking rule with these horsemasters. They still have some ammunition left. Well, not anymore. It's a little bit of a rule break, but it is quick battles, so it's not the worst thing in the world. We do have seen some horsemasters trying to knock out these chosen with halberds and the remainder of the chaos infantry, and now we have a huge fight as the horsemasters on the right flank do surround Archaon. Enfeebling Foe is popped. He does have Cascading Fire Cloak as well, and the Fimir Balefiend also comes in for a rear charge. Will he be able to get some decent damage on Archaon, since he's probably the last big damage dealing units left for the Norskins? We have a Pendulum or a Burning Head. Yeah, a Pendulum, which actually seems to do more friendly damage than not. It does shatter these chosen with halberds, but unfortunately, we do lose one unit of Marauder Horsemasters. And Archaon has lost a little bit of HP, but he is still going to be super tough to take down. And Chaos has lost the remainder of the supporting infantry, and it's pretty much going to be Archaon by himself. The one unit of horsemasters that was routing is going to be returning to the field, and the other two horsemasters are going to be trying to encircle Archaon and just beat him in melee. So that's going to be a very tall order for these Norscan horsemasters, since Archaon, again, his melee stats are just completely through the roof. His melee defense is going to make it very tough for these Marauder horsemasters to even do a little bit of damage. Some chosen with halberds do get charged by the horsemasters and they do shatter, and these chaos warriors have a similar fate. Now it's only Archaon left on the field, fighting off against 4 horsemasters, and we'll see whether he is able to do it. Even though he is relatively low on HP, horsemasters don't have the greatest attacking stats, and so you definitely want to keep Archaon in this blob. He can probably win it just by himself, but if he tries to run away or something, or he lets himself get encircled, he may not be long for this battle, and he is wavering. Will the Norskins be able to pull off this battle with only 4 units of Marauder Horsemasters? We do see the balance of power is heavily Chaos favored. 1 unit of Marauder Horsemasters is wavering and will potentially be routing soon. And the balance of power is still super Chaos favored, but it is slowly coming back as Archaon loses HP. You can see from that battle he did lose about 200 HP, which is a lot less than I expected. For staying surrounded by horsemasters for like a good 20 seconds or so, only taking 200 damage is still pretty impressive. And now I notice that Archaon is trying to take this fight in the forest, which would not be optimal for my horsemasters, so I try to bring him out in the open field and surround him that way. Archaon charges into 1 unit of Marauder Horsemasters, and 2 units are there to surround him, and this is going to be the engagement that likely decides the fate of the battle. Horsemasters have completely surrounded Archaon. Let's check out his HP, still at 937. Yeah, so he is taking almost no damage from each charge from these Horsemasters. We just have to hope that in a blob fight, Archaon can take enough damage to finally start routing. And he is wavering. He does manage to rout or waver 1 unit of Marauder Horsemasters, and as he runs away, these Marauder Horsemasters get repeated rear charges in Archaon, lowering his leadership to the point where he routs, and Norsca does somehow win the battle with only Horsemasters going up against the Ever-Chosen. So very well fought from my opponent Raze, and let's check out how each army did. So for the Norskins, I would say definitely those Horsemasters carried, as you saw in the final moments of that battle. But in addition, a lot of those kills are going to be on, on those Dragon Ogres, since I tried to target them from early on. So a lot of the kills that you see on these Horsemasters are very valuable kills on those Dragon Ogres. And I'd say the thing that won Norsca the battle was routing these Dragon Ogres off the battlefield quickly. Otherwise, they probably could have taken down these Mammoths super quickly. They would have taken out Throg as well. And with that, the infantry really has no say in the battle. On the Chaos side of things, Archaon, of course, almost won the battle just by himself. His entire army had routed, and he almost managed to solo the remainder of the Norscan army, so that just shows how much of a world beater he is. But I think my opponent might have mismicroed him a little bit. He managed to rout one of the mammoths, but he kept chasing him off the battlefield, which would be fine normally, but when the rest of your infantry is getting cycle charged to death, you definitely want to have some form of resistance there to try and stop that. And so potentially making one of the dragon ogres chase off the feral mammoth might have been a better choice, since what the Norscans were able to do was single out those dragon ogres and kill them one by one. Anyways, once again, a very well fought battle to raise, as, you know, it seems like a little bit of a turn on each other faction, since Warriors of Chaos and Norscans are normally allies, and so seems like one faction has turned on the other. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this battle. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.